What's described as the most significant reform of care and support in more than 60 years in England happens in April. The Care Act will bring together health and social care for the first time. But a new report is warning there's a black hole in funding. The shortfall is top of the agenda at a 3-day event starting in Manchester today. And our reporter Carolyn Atkinson is live at the National Children and Adult Services Conference.
Well, Mel, this is the State of the Nation report about the state of adult social care services in England and Wales. Now, it's jointly published by the Local Government Association, which represents about 370 councils, and the Association of Directors of Adult Social Services. Now, its president, David Pearson, is with me here in Manchester. He's just come off the stage. David, let's just talk very briefly about this report. A black hole, a funding gap of £4.3 billion by the end of the decade. Now, we know that demand is rising, so what does this mean for people who will need care and support?
I think directors are worried that people may not be able to access the services they need, and that the quality of care and the quality of life may go down if this funding gap isn't filled. And it's on the back of increasing need of doubling of the number of over 85s over the next 2 decades, and on the back of 26% funding reductions, 3.5 billion over the last 4 years.
But the government would say, well, that's exactly why it's implementing the Care Act in 2015. This is going to be the biggest change to care in 60 years, and it's just published the details, the nitty-gritty of what that Care Act is actually going to mean. Let's talk through some of those things. The first thing is that they're going to have a national threshold for eligibility, as opposed to, at the moment, each council decides its own sort of level. Now, what will that mean in practice?
That means that everybody will be assessed to the same criteria wherever they are in the country, and if they move, they don't have to be reassessed as now. So that assessment is portable. It can transfer with them if they move into different parts of the country.
Now, critics would say the bar has been set too high. You've got people who are categorised as low or moderate, substantial or critical in need, and this new bar is at substantial.
It is. It's where local authorities have gone to over the last 4 years in the face of those funding reductions. So it does exemplify the need to make sure that social care is funded properly if we want to extend the net to support people with lower level needs.
Now, the Care Act, 5 months to go. The councils you're all rushing around trying to work out how you're going to implement it, and a lot of people are talking about that today, aren't they, at the conference? Let's look at some of the main key areas which are going to affect people on the ground. Now, unpaid carers, we know there's this huge army of unpaid carers looking after people. What is going to change for them in terms of entitlement?
Well, at the moment they can have an assessment of their needs, but there is no statutory obligation to provide services. So this Act, for the first time, means that carers are entitled to services. And we know that carers, 5.5 million in England, provide an enormous amount of unpaid care worth 55 billion to the economy. So it is important that we support carers with the tasks they're doing so that they can care for their loved ones in the best way possible. So it's a very important change to the legislation.
They'll very often say, I have no advice, I have no information. If I don't get any support and I don't qualify for the financial side of things, I'm left on my own. I'm a self-funder and I'm sort of in a mire of non-information. What's going to change with that?
Well, the Care Act includes the provision of advice and information by local councils to make sure that people know where to go, where they can get informal support for their needs, but also when they need support through health and local government, that they can navigate the system. So making sure that people understand the circumstances they're in and they can get the right help at the right time.
Will that really change, though? Will it really get better?
I think there are some fantastic examples up and down the country where people have done innovative work around provide advice and information. We just need to make sure that's spread across the whole country.
Now, deferred payments, it sounds quite dramatic. So many people are struggling to pay for care. People are going without care because they can't afford it. How will deferred payments, in terms of selling your house or not, how will that work?
Well, for people who have a house, that is taken into account if they go into residential nursing care in terms of the fees that they need to pay. So people sometimes are faced with selling their house at very difficult times in their lives for them and their families. So this enables a loan to be given by the local authority in order to defer that need to sell their house.
OK, David Pearson, President of ADUS, thank you very much. Later in the programme, we'll be hearing how GPs and social workers think they can help integrate health and social care, save money and provide people with better care.
Carolyn Atkinson, thank you. And staying with care, a company criticised for delays in processing applications for the Personal Independence Payment Benefit, or PIP, which replaced the Disability Living Allowance, is doubling